Coming to you from the Arctic. Oh my gosh, I feel like a snowman. In today's video, I'm going to share with you 12 months of Maffetone training and the things that I've learned. Today is a wonderful day. Oh my gosh, can you imagine? I get to run in snow once again. There's always snow. I got my nails painted, got my hat on back sideways.
You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky.
In today's video, we are going to review the past 12 months of Maffetone training, and I'm going to pick one thing that I learned each month as my training went along. Let's dive into it. And then you get a diagnosis of like, you're gonna die if you keep doing what you're doing because your blood pressure's through the roof and you're not doing very well. Or you could let that scare you into action to actually make a change. My training, my running has been not very good since Hamilton, so I'm gonna try something different. Instead of going out and running really fast and doing all these different types of drills. You know, I've noticed that my training hasn't been great. I've also noticed I've been kind of maybe overtraining. I haven't really seen any improvements. Actually, I just don't feel like running sometimes, or most of the time, and that's sad. So I've changed it up. I'm going to do things differently this time, and I'm going to adopt Phil Maffetone's, heart rate training. An epic running comeback. That's my story. That's where I'm at. I guess the first one is start slow. So, the longer you've been off, your fitness level has gone down, your VO2 max has gone down, everything's really kind of gone down. Now, here's the thing. The longer that you've been running, the longer that you have built up a running base, so let's say 15 years. If you take a year off, coming back to running is going to be much easier than somebody that's only been running for a year or two, running slow. If you have to walk, go start walking for a month or so, right? Slowly incorporate running. But I would highly recommend the Maffetone method to get back into running. All my strength exercises that I do are all based on just my own weight, right? Push-ups, crunches, planks, leg raises, like all these things. Doesn't cost any money, just lift your body. Like, it's so crazy. Set yourself for success, carve out that time that it's gonna take, and then just go ahead and do it. Don't stress out about it. Don't freak out. It'll all work out in the long run, okay? Yes, I am vegan, and yes, you can be low carb vegan. It is possible, and it takes a little bit of planning to make sure that you've got it in place. However, it can be done. Forget everything that I've learned. Let's reboot and let's go through this re-education process. So I started to dive into the literature and I started to research and pull out all these little tidbits that really spoke to me. And I thought, now is the time to build that aerobic engine. So that's what I've been doing since September. Guys, I'm down 25 pounds. And all I've been doing is doing my 2-hour runs, right? Yeah, you never know when you're gonna need toilet paper, I'm gonna tell you. There's so many flippin' stories that I can tell. Maybe 3 days in your week to be able to get this nice, steady 2-hour run in, you would see major benefits. After your run, your blood pressure is gonna be higher. Right? Naturally, blood pressure is going to be higher, And because it's going to be higher, it's bringing blood to your muscles, right? You really want to increase your cardiac efficiency. That is being able to go out there, run at a longer distance, continuous, and make sure that you don't drop off, right? Like I know those drop-off marks, right? I know when I've gone out for a 2-hour run, when now I'm pushing it for a 3-hour, I can see the heart rate start to go. One reason was I needed to kind of stop stress eating. With all the news across the world and everything else, you know, I was kind of paralyzed for a while with what was going on in the world, and comfort food seemed to kind of do it. So that was primarily the reason, was to break the cycle of the binge eating, the stress eating, all that kind of jazz. The interesting thing that I noticed was I lost 1.5 inches over my belly button. What have I learned from it? Well, I've learned what Phil Maffetone has talked about, right, is try to stay away from as much of those carbohydrates that are very simple, right? Like the baked goods, right? Like the breads, the pastas, you know, the pops and the sugars and things like that, right? Running up these hills, you really increase your endurance, your strength, your stamina, and your confidence in your ability to actually get through the hard times when you see a little bit of a hill in the far distance. Run trails, it's good for your heart. So once you get your aerobic base down and you do hill repeats, man, you will be a running fast machine. I'll tell you that straight out. Like I would build up your aerobic base probably for a good, you know, maybe at least 4 months, 4 to 6 months. Build that base. If you're gonna commit, you go all in, right? There's no ifs and buts. You go all in and you do MAF. You gotta walk the hills. Something amazing is happening this week. I wanted to see what it feels like and what kind of commitment and dedication needs to go into running 100 miles. 160 kilometers in 1 week. Man, the heat's really moved in. Like it's gotten really hot. So I gotta get up earlier than I'm normally out for a run just to beat the heat. Because, you know, if I'm gonna get in 100 miles this week, man, just running in these temperatures, I can feel it. It's hard. Well, that's a milestone. That's 100 miles in 1 week. 160 kilometers, all in. Man, am I happy. All at my MAF pace. Heart rate training, best thing ever. This was not the most ideal time to see what I could do in a 10K race. Your goal, and if you want to get faster quicker, then you do want to train at the higher, like at your max MAF, okay? Anyways, that's just something that I've experienced. It's something that I've kind of worked my way through. Let's just pull the handbrake off. Let's just go out and let's just run and see what the legs can do. There comes a time in your MAF training when you hit a breakthrough and you go, hallelujah! This is awesome. Guys, I'm so happy. 48 minutes, 28 seconds. Hell yeah, I'll take it. My biggest piece of advice, if you're just starting out on Maffetone training, AKA low heart-based rate training, is the following. It's gonna take some time to build up your aerobic base, so don't stress out about it. It could take 1, 2, 3, it could take all the way up to 6 months, even more, before you start to really start to see results. So be patient. Temperature is as hot as it is right now. Yeah, it's like heart rate is 133. Guys, look. right? I'm just flipping transparent. And that's what it is, man. And am I pissed that I have to walk right now? Yeah, because I want to run.
If it comes down to me and you,
Next piece of advice I have for you is don't be attached to the outcome. If you're always thinking that you're going to get better on every single run, it's a myth. It ain't happening. Some days they're going to be amazing runs. Other days, not so much. So leave the attachment out of the equation because it'll make your run so much more enjoyable. And when you finish, you won't be disappointed because at least you got out and you enjoyed your consistency, right? People are not consistent in their running at a low heart rate to see the gains. Number 3. Yes, I've talked about it before, but your diet. Here's the thing. You can't outrun a bad diet. It's true. You really can't. Sugar, oh my goodness, what that does. Carbohydrates, what that does to your heart rate. It's insane. Now, I'm not talking about vegetables. I'm not talking about fruits, right? I'm talking about the simple carbohydrates like bagels, pastas, cookies, all those kinds of things, like the processed foods. So you may want to limit that in your diet. Misconceptions that every year that I got older, I had to reduce the beats per minute in my Maffetone training.
Nowhere does it say that every year you have to reduce your heart rate by 1 beat. In the big book of endurance training and racing, what I talk about there is that we keep that 180 minus the age formula. You're feeling good and you're getting faster at that heart rate. Then about every 3 to 5 years, you might have to reduce that MAF heart rate by a beat or two, depending on your condition. If you've been doing well for those 3 to 5 years, then you wouldn't reduce it as much. But if you are not doing well, then the aging factor is maybe catching up, so you might have to reduce it more. The bottom line is that when you do make an adjustment, you're going to follow your MAF test to see if indeed you've reduced it and allowed your body to get faster at that same heart rate. The idea of reducing your heart rate every year is absolutely not true.
Choosing to run an ultra, a distance longer than a marathon, is a natural development for a runner who wants to keep pushing their development further. We start with 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 21, 42, 50 kilometers, and now 50 miles. It's a major test for someone to achieve and endure. It's not for everybody, and the reasons runners undertake the challenge vary, while my own underlying motivations might not be completely clear. I'm sure I share these ones with others who have attempted the distance. To demonstrate to ourselves or to others that we have the courage and fortitude to push through the impediments we once envisioned, to resist the chances to quit, and to bear the difficulty of the distance physically and emotionally. I've had to deal with self-doubt, the feeling of not being good enough, and the nagging memories of a principal telling my 10-year-old self he was stupid. I've had people judge me for my grammar, my spelling. Obesity and blood pressure were the kicks in the butt that led me to start creating this version of myself. I love the feeling of solitude, autonomy, and freedom I get from trail running. I have come to realize, though, that running is only partially physical. The longer the run, the deeper you have to dig, and sometimes you find things that you didn't know were there. So you don't need to just face the physical exhaustion, you have to be prepared to face some inner demons as well. And the letdown after months of planning and training and hours of physical and mental struggle can be severe. It's like the day after Christmas when you realize that it's all over for another year. I can keep busy with work and family, but often the only thing that helps me cope is going out for another run. Astoundingly and unbelievably crazy as it sounds, it's the truth. I ran the Boyne Valley 50-mile route I created in Dufferin County because my 100-kilometer race was cancelled. COVID spread around the world, and has devastated people's lives. I decided that I wanted to run and push my boundaries. It was the hardest thing I've ever done mentally and physically. I crossed the finish line after 12 hours and 39 minutes. Physically, emotionally drained. My 10-year-old self calls it unbelievable. My 48-year-old self calls it a success. In the days that have passed since I took on the Boyne Valley, I've become increasingly aware that this post-emotional roller coaster is just as much part of running ultras as the training, friendships, fatigue, and physical endurance. Even when we reach the goals we set for ourselves, the feeling can be bittersweet in the end. My finishing time is a reflection of the staggering amount of dedication that goes into training for an ultra. Was it worth it? Yes. Would I do it again? Absolutely. To walk. Yes, I know, you want to be a runner. And what does this walking have to do with training this way? If you haven't spent the time building up your base, pretty much what you've been doing is training anaerobically. You've been training really hard, and by training really hard, there's a very good chance that you've gotten injured. You've either overtrained, you've burned out. Hey, that was me, okay? That was totally me. And you know what? It sucked. I didn't like it, but it is what it is. Now, if you're going to be successful at this, you will walk. You will run walk. And guess what? That's okay. Run walk. Take your time. It will happen. I love it. And the reason I love it so much is because you can run for a long time by training by heart rate. And it's an enjoyable run. You're not like winded when you're finished. You're not tired. You're not exhausted. You can literally train for a long time. You can go a long distance. You can, I mean, I ran an ultra marathon just using this method to build up my mileage, right? And so running using this method, my running so much more enjoyable. I hope you liked the video, guys. It was a joy to make, looking back on all those memories from 2020. Let's hope moving forward in the following year, it'll even be better, and there'll be lots of great things that we can share and talk about at the end of 2021. So I can always say, everybody, get out and run. Happy New Year.
Trying to find some balance